Efficiently Transitioning Enterprise Workloads to AWS, a guide to using EC2 and RDS. This podcast is brought to you by Business Compass, LLC. We are an Amazon Web Services advanced consulting partner. We build and migrate workloads to Amazon Cloud. Our website is businesscompassllc.com. Our phone number is 973-638-2228. Our email address is contact@businesscompassllc.us. Many organizations are migrating enterprise workloads from traditional data centers to cloud environments like Amazon Web Services, AWS, to enhance scalability, improve efficiency, and reduce costs. AWS provides robust services such as EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, and RDS, Relational Database Service, that facilitate a seamless transition. This podcast will guide you through the entire migration process, from strategic planning to post-migration assurance, with a detailed, step-by-step example. Introduction to Enterprise Workload Migration from On-Premises to AWS. Enterprise Workload Migration involves transferring data, applications, and IT processes from on-premises data centers to the cloud. AWS offers a wide array of services to make this transition as smooth as possible, ensuring minimal disruption to business operations. Key benefits include enhanced scalability, cost savings, and access to advanced technologies. Strategic planning, sizing, prerequisites, and resource naming conventions. Sizing. Accurate sizing is critical to ensure that the AWS resources you provision match the needs of your workloads. This involves evaluating your current on-premises infrastructure, understanding the resource requirements, and mapping these to appropriate AWS services. Tools like AWS Migration Hub can assist in tracking the progress of application migrations across AWS prerequisites. Before migrating, ensure you have AWS account setup. Create an AWS account and set up the necessary IAM, identity and access management, roles and policies. Network configuration. Design your VPC, virtual private cloud, subnets, route tables, and security groups. Data backup. Ensure all critical data is backed up and accessible. Resource naming conventions. Adopting a standardized naming convention for your AWS resources is essential for maintaining organization and ease of management. Examples include EC2 instances, env app function number, for example, prod web server 01.RDS instances, MDB type number, for example, devdb mysql 01, resource provisioning and best practices. Resource provisioning. Provision the necessary AWS resources to support your workloads. EC2 instances. Select appropriate instance types based on your sizing analysis. Launch instances in the desired VPC and subnets. RDS instances. Choose the suitable database engine, for example, MySQL, PostgreSQL, instance type, and storage options. Best practices. Security. Implement security best practices, such as using IAM roles, enabling VPC flow logs, and configuring security groups and NACLs. High availability. Deploy resources across multiple availability zones, AZs, to ensure redundancy and failover capability. Automation. Use AWS CloudFormation or Terraform to automate the provisioning of resources, ensuring consistency and repeatability. Launch phase, validation testing, dry run, and final migration. Validation testing. Perform thorough validation testing to ensure the provisioned resources are correctly configured and meet performance expectations. This includes connectivity tests between EC2 instances and RDS databases. Load testing to simulate production workloads. Dry run. Conduct a dry run migration to identify potential issues and refine the migration process. This involves migrating a subset of data and applications, monitoring performance and resolving any encountered issues. Final migration. Execute the final migration, following the validated process. This includes data transfer, use AWS Database Migration Service, DMS, or other tools to migrate databases. Application deployment. Deploy applications to the newly provisioned EC2 instances. Post-migration assurance. Application functionality and user accessibility. Application functionality. Ensure that all migrated applications function correctly in the new AWS environment, This involves comprehensive testing of all application functionalities, performance tuning and optimization, user accessibility. Verify that users can access the migrated applications seamlessly. This includes updating DNS records to point to the new AWS resources, ensuring that authentication and authorization mechanisms work as expected. Detailed step-by-step migration process with practical example. Step 1. Assess and plan. Conduct a detailed assessment of the current on-premises infrastructure. Develop a migration plan, including timelines, resources, and risk mitigation strategies. Step 2. Prepare the AWS environment. Set up an AWS account and configure IAM roles and policies. Design and deploy the VPC, subnets, and security groups. Step 3. Provision resources. Launch EC2 instances and configure them as per the sizing analysis. Create RDS instances and configure the database engines. Step 4. Perform dry run. Migrate a subset of data using AWS DMS. Deploy applications to EC2 instances and conduct validation testing. Step 5. Execute final migration. Transfer the complete data set to RDS. Deploy the entire application stack to EC2 instances. Step 6. Post-migration activities. Conduct comprehensive functionality testing. Optimize performance and ensure user accessibility. Practical example. Assume we are migrating a web application with a MySQL database. The steps would be assessment. Evaluate the current server specs and database size. Preparation. Set up an AWS VPC with public and private subnets. Provisioning. Launch T3.medium EC2 instances for the web servers and a db.m5.large RDS instance for MySQL. Dry run. Migrate a sample data set using AWS DMS and deploy the web application to the EC2 instances. Final migration. Complete the data migration and deploy the entire application. Post-migration. Test all functionalities, optimize performance, and update DNS settings for user access. By following these steps and best practices, organizations can ensure a smooth and efficient transition of their enterprise workloads from traditional data centers to AWS, leveraging the powerful capabilities of EC2 and RDS. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please share this podcast, visit our website, and follow our social media links.